Are you thinking about moving to Portugal? I almost said Portland because our last one was Portland, Oregon, and this is Portugal. So, or if you're thinking about moving to Portugal or just want to know what it's like or going to vacation there or something, this is the episode for you. You see beside me here, and I've learned the right way to point after about 50,000 episodes because it's the opposite way. We got Tony Barbosa, Realtor in Portugal. He's live there and he's going to show you around a little bit his surroundings because it's pretty nice, and he's got some peaches right behind him that'll show you. But before that, this is Wanna Move There, the show giving Central Pennsylvanians the info they need to decide whether they want to move somewhere else out of the area. I am your host, DerekBicksler, Realtor of 15 years. I grew up on the Hill in Harrisburg, went to Mechanicsburg High School, and went up to Penn College in Williamsport, where there was the Little League World Series recently. And Tony, you might, Juan, I think his son or nephew, somebody was in that. So that was kind of exciting. We always hated it up there because it just messed up our move. It was always the same week as move-in week to college. So it always just messed up the only highway into Penn Tech. So anyway, and I've been back here ever since, selling homes for 15 years now. So if you need to buy or sell a home, please reach out to me. You can call me, text me, email me, throw a rock through my window, send a carrier pigeon, whatever you need to do. We still need inventory like crazy. It's died down slightly, and we're going to learn a little bit about what it's like in Portugal right now. But it's died down a little bit. So if you're a buyer, you can get back out there and start looking again. A reminder that all the replays do live on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and on iTunes and Spotify. I uploaded the episode to Spotify yesterday, so these will be on iTunes and all those things, assuming it works, because it's a pain in the butt setting up all the RSS feeds. All the people that have watched my previous shows, I got behind on my last show of, like I said, Tony, 100 or 200 episodes, and then it became too cumbersome to upload and copy and paste all the descriptions and everything on there. So we didn't get it on iTunes and Spotify, but this show from episode 1 is on there. So everybody can listen to that in the audio version. And now I will shut up. Thank you for being with us, Tony, straight from Portugal. How's it going over there?
Well, happy hour to everyone. It's 5 o'clock here, so I'm having my Alvarinho wine, everything. It's a nice, beautiful, sunny day, and just one of those peaceful places that you get business done, but then you also have quality of life, that just to balance everything. So that's what Portugal's about, and that's what it's for me.
Yeah, and I love all your socials, and your profile pictures and everything are usually lifestyle stuff and always beautiful food and beautiful wine and beautiful scenery. So we're all looking forward to learning more about that. And I know a lot of people might not be moving over there, although we might want to. And you can tell us about, when we get into it, the affordability. But we all would definitely like to vacation there. But before we get into all that, let's learn a little bit more about you. You didn't grow up in Portugal, right?
No, Derek, I was born in Angola, and we went to the United States, my mom and dad and my sister. And so I grew up in the U.S., in New Jersey. And I grew up in Newark, where all the Portuguese live, and went to Eastside High School, went to Oliver Street grade school, Eastside High School, Seton Hall University, so I'm a Pirate alumni. And that's where I grew up. And then even on the East Coast, between New York, between Pennsylvania, it's one of those places that I know very, very well.
Nice. And in Newark is close to New York, for those that might not be out there. So did you spend a lot of time in New York City as well?
Yeah, my first jobs, even though I was working like part-time, but it was like full-time. That's where I grew up, even throughout the Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, Long Island, all the boroughs. It was one of the places that I grew up with, and I know very well. That's why sometimes when I speak to other realtors there, or even in South Jersey, in the Point Pleasant Beach, and everyone's surprised, like, how do you know these places? And because I grew up there, so you kind of you throw them off like, hey, what's a country boy doing in Portugal know about what it is, Third Avenue in the Bronx or Southern Boulevard or etc. So working and live, my last residence was in New York, near Union Square Park, Broadway and 16th Street. So I know it very well.
And it sounds like you're into culture, and your whole family is kind of into culture and food and all that kind of stuff. And I'm guessing that the food and the culture is not the same in Newark as it would be in New York City. So you probably had to go to New York City to get some of that stuff, or how was it? Or
The other
so
way
long ago
around.
that New York was
The
kind of
other
the
way
crappy New
around.
York.
No, the other way around. Newark was more traditional Portuguese than New York City. It has nothing. New York City, there's an area like in the 23rd to 26th Street that has a lot more Brazilian and Portuguese as well, but I would say more Brazilian. Where Newark was more Portuguese and from the Azores and from the mainland here. That's where I grew up, and that's where my parents also. That's where they lived, and that's where all the Portuguese people mostly. Or they either go to Boston, in near New Bedford, even just around outside New Bedford, and I forget the other Fall River, New Bedford. There's a lot of Portuguese communities there too, right in outside of Boston, in Massachusetts. So Rhode Island, Connecticut, that whole area there. But it's between New Jersey and Boston. There's a lot. Or if you go to the West Coast, there are a lot of Madeira from the island of Madeira. Because when I lived out there as well, lived out in San Francisco in that area there, they even have their own Portuguese radio station. So kind of, but the food and you do have, but it's not so much as it is in Newark or Boston, that area. For sure, you get all the traditional more than New York City, without a doubt.
So what were you into when you were younger, growing up in the city? Did you and for college, did you say what you did in college, what you majored in?
Business administration. And when I was growing up, I was kind of a brainiac, just studying. I was always encouraged. My parents always encouraged me, because they didn't have the education so they always want to give it to their children, and so I always like buried myself in books, and even going to university was young, and just something that. But then what you want to do, you want to travel, you want to make money, you want to do a lot of things, and that's the opportunities when they came to me. My hand was always raised, and I was in the retail, more in the corporate world, in the retail. That had to do with expansion of just retail shops, and some of the brands are still on the Nasdaq now. Before they went public, and I grew up with, you imagine, from one single shop to over 200, not only nationwide, from East Coast to West Coast, and even outside of the U.S. And what I learned from that was about just growing, and growing it within a company, the recruiting, the social aspect of it. And even just the operations, of course, day to day, and managing with big teams. So that was something that now, using it, more than for more than 20 years I've been living in Portugal. But what I did there definitely helps me out here, working with people, relationships, right? Because that's what it's about. It's always relationships, and even when you're managing teams, you got to get the goal done, the objective. This is focus. And not everybody wakes up at the right side of the bed, and if you have a team of 100 or 200, you got to get them all. You got to get it done, and you got to figure it out, like a way to motivate and do and get the results done. And so I learned a lot from that experience, of that, and also of growth. Taking companies and growing with them, and being valued as a human resource. I think one of the best quotes I always remember from someone I was it's from Illuminations. They closed. They were bought out by Yankee Candle. But one of the things that I learned was always that the number one asset to any company are its human resources, not even their clients. And that was very powerful to hear that, because if they're happy, like if you go, people, we did it was our mantra: we don't have clients, we have friends. And so kind of, you grow with that, and it's true. And even in our own business, we don't have clients, we have friends. And they recommend, they refer you, and that's what it's about. We had clients that would come in just to come in to say hello, and the same way we call our friends, how are you doing, you're not selling them anything, you don't, but just following up. So I learned a lot about that, for sure. Real estate wasn't what I did there, other than just myself investing, and I still have properties there. So, but it wasn't what I did. But I loved it. That's for sure.
So you went straight from Seton Hall to into that industry, into
Yeah,
corporate
I started
retail?
out. I
And what was
started
the
out.
actual position you started with at first?
It was a management position, and it was with the young. It was a very young company, a small company, not young, small company. It was called Persuasions, and it was is they were from New York, from Brooklyn, and they had what I had to do was just fill in for a lot of the other managers that were out. And this was something when I was still going to I was going to college and working there part time, but I learned a lot from them and about trust when they really trust you, and especially with just cash deposits and just even managing the staff, and when I had that trust with them just to go around. And so that's how I got to know New York City, from Brooklyn. I mean, I worked right in front of Macy's, between 34th Street, between 7th and 8th Avenue, by Madison Square Garden. So working in those places, or even a lot of friends from Astoria, from Queens, they're on Stuyvesant Avenue, that I still have relationships with and I still maintain, from Greece here. And so like we just go back. But that wasn't really, it was a good experience, but it was like, for me, it was like part time because I was going to college. So I would work always on the weekends, for sure. And then even after my classes were in the morning, so you would have, or if I had a class in the afternoon, so you're always balancing it out. But it was more of a part time. But it was a full time position working part time, let's just say. And so I learned all the, it was just a management position as well. And it was very exciting. That's when you learn about like business. I remember my boss Raymond. Raymond was just so methodical and just structured, and like wow, like you admire people like that. So I was always growing, always around them, and learning not only about business and entrepreneurship and stuff. So then later on, I probably applied all those things that I learned there. I applied them here. Because what you learn in school, let's be honest, unless you go into school nowadays for a medical doctor, or something, a specified, um, uh, just job, like really a lot of stuff that you learn in college, you don't really apply it on a day-to-day basis, right? Economics and stuff. I mean, it's things, unless you're going into other specialized professions, like I say, medical doctors or just physicists or whatever, those are things that probably school or at university is definitely for it. I went it for more just as a personal goal, like okay, I want to get a college degree. That's what I want, well, not one of the first in the family to do it, So between and that's, for me, that was important.
Yeah, and most colleges, or maybe they do now, have a course on how to treat people or how to win friends and influence people and that kind of thing.
Like
Because
Dale Carnegie, right? Like Dale
that's a
Carnegie.
lot more what it's about. Is yeah, exactly what you said. You learned in that job. A lot of it carried
You
over.
learn more.
And you also said, well, you said that you didn't use real estate, but it sounded like you were learning the area. Were you going around? Were you involved in the facilities at all? Because with retail, obviously the corner that you're on matters, and the space that you're in matters, and you have some kind of structure that it's a 3,000-foot box every time, and we have the same build out each time. So did you learn any real estate while you were doing that?
Not so much. What I learned more was about actually the commercial side of it, especially in the retail office space, or not office space, retail space, and what they were paying, per square meter, what it is like. And sometimes when you're talking about like per month, like 30 or 40,000 dollars a month. For a space that's like a small box, I would say, wow, But then again, you have a business that's doing about 8 to 10 million euros, or dollars a year, right? And even above, 8, 10, 12 million dollars that produces in gross sales. So, and a lot. So I learned a little bit about that, but not so much. I mean, real estate was just like a hobby there. Working with a few friends that were realtors, that they even started working with us or with me, and then they went into real estate. I didn't. It's just that's not what I was into. But I was into real estate investing, and where like foreclosures. So not only my first property when I bought was a foreclosure property, then also multifamily dwellings. We're talking in the early '90s, right? And early '90s was a great time to invest in the U.S. Just everything was always, everything was just, the best times to grow. And I think that I felt in the U.S. was from like 1990, in the late '80s to early 2000s, was just phenomenal. And I was a part of that growth. I was there, and you're able to put money aside, invest in mutual funds, this, that. Again, my first bosses always guided me on that. They were always very careful to do this, do that, buy this, or invest there, etc. So, and even them watching them, because they themselves did a lot about real estate buying and stuff. So I learned that business from them a little bit. So, you know, but nothing, not the customer end of it. Like where were you working with a client and actually showing profit? No, not that, nothing at all. And that was something that you learn later. And again, you go back to school to learn that stuff. Also, you don't know, you didn't, so you go back to school. It's always going back to school. You're always learning. You know.
Yeah, every transaction teaches you something. So how did you go from, so you were doing real estate a little bit with the investing and everything. So how did you make a transition from what you were doing into being on the brokerage side of it and what you're doing now?
Moving to Portugal, Derek, for personal reasons. Yeah, because that's all. I've had two careers in my life, there, or two lives. One there, one here. 26 years in the U.S. and over 20 years here, and that's all I've done, and that's all I know how to do. When people ask me, "Are you still in real estate?" That's all I know how to do. you know, and I don't know how to do anything else. I mean, there's no other passion for me
Yeah,
than
I
doing it.
am real estate. I don't, what do you,
I
that's not
am
a,
real
yeah.
estate. And so, but it was personal reasons when I moved here. My dad and it was actually after, and I think we were there, I'm not sure if you were there, we were talking about in the real estate room that you make decisions in life that are really, to be a part of the ones you love and be a part of them, get to know them. And after September 11th, it really was a change for me, because priorities, spending time with the ones you love. So I took just a break. Okay. I have to spend Christmas. Lost you there.
We're
Oh,
good.
I don't know. Lost you there. I wanted to spend Christmas, New Year's. I wanted to, Easter, my mother's birthday, mom's Mother's Day, etc. So those are the things that were valued for me that I wanted to do. So took a 6-month ticket, came here, been many times back to the U.S., but this is where it's at. And the growth here after the 2000 and 2001, since I've been here, 2001 basically, to even 2000 wasn't a full year because I came and then I left. But then this is where the growth has come in Europe. It's amazing. You're at the right places at the right time. And one of the things that just fell into my lap, and a brand that we all know, that is with the U.S. That's where I was a part of for 15 years here. So I was just not even a realtor, because a realtor is just a term for NAR. Now I am a realtor, but at the time, just an estate agent, right? And so you learn the business, had great mentors, great mentors. That one of the things that always I learned was just that it's relationships, it's not transactions, and you build those relationships, and that's what real estate has little to do with selling homes, right, Derek? We know this. It's all about relationships. Real estate is not homes; it's people. And so I learned that, and just you grew for just, I was one of their top agents here in the north, of course. And just, it was just something that it was just natural. And I think probably when we talk about creating a niche market, where I was able to speak fluent English. My Portuguese wasn't great, but that's okay, because my buyers and and even the sellers wanted me to represent them, because you know what? I know you're going to get me a foreign buyer. I know you're going to sell me the property, or even to a Portuguese, but because my Portuguese was not. I learned Portuguese. My first language that I learned how to speak was English, right? So I would learn Portuguese coming on the holidays here with my parents. But other than that, it wasn't my first language. And growing, just learning, etc. But having those mentors, and the top coaches around you, people that you respect and you want to be around them, even if it's just to go get coffee for them. So you gotta pay your dues, right? And whether it's the simplest things like that, but it just rubs, being shoulder to shoulder with them, you always learning. And that's what I did. And what I found, and it's the same thing, the success that they had was just the way that they handle their business with their clients, the friendships that they had. And that's something, that's easy to do. That's not complicated to do real estate. That's something I love doing anyway, is talking with people, meeting people, connecting with people. So it's just getting from there. And it just naturally grew. It just, it was like how you say, like a ball of a snowball effect, right? It just grew, and it keeps growing. And and then I went obviously from because then you get, okay, now it's time to, you want your own brand, you want to have your own you have your clients ready. And I was just, there's same values that at beginning that they had, which is also, that's what I loved about it, growing from like 20 franchises to over 250. That was beautiful. Okay. But then it was just for me, the cultures of the way the brands structure themselves and the way they have it, it started to shift from my values. And I said, it's time for me to go, because I don't need, I just have my only one rule is just, satisfy the client. That's it. Anything else is just, I don't need rules for to do this and rules for this and rules for that. So, and I love rules. The rules are great, but I think if you have, if you have only one rule, satisfy your client and be happy with them. That's the golden rule in my business, and so we just decided, me and my business partner, to do. Sometimes she's not in the equation. A lot of times she doesn't. But in the back channels and a lot of the stuff, it wouldn't be possible to do without it, because again, all this stuff with the social media, as you or me, 20 years ago we didn't have this. I mean, Instagram, I've been using it for like a year and a half, 2 years. Facebook, 4 or 5 years, 6 years. I know 6 years now it'll be. And so all these things you really learn, and having people around you that know much better than you do, those are my, that's why I'm always surrounded with the people that just know more than what I need to know to make it grow. And we kind of, she thinks with the brain, I think with the heart, and and it works beautifully, because working together and getting the job done is what it's all about. And that's but it just grew, Derek. It really, when you say, okay, the transition when you made from going from an estate agent to a broker, I think it had to do with the time when you realized that, what your values and what you want to do, and you don't want to have like a walk-in business. I want to have a business where if anyone comes to the office, it's because it's not a walk-in. It's someone that schedules to come in and visit. It's more of a boutique style brokerage, a personalized service, and that's the kind of business. And it would be very hard to do that in that structure of the brands. You could do it probably, but they would want you to do it on a larger scale. And I prefer to like grow organically, and just one client at a time, and personalized service, and that's where it's at. Just one person at a time. You're not looking to have like 20, a member of, be a team leader for 20 people. No, I've been there, done that. I don't want to manage that. I don't want that stress. And so again, just creating your own rules where they're simple, having that quality of life, that balance. You do what you have to do because it's what we have our commitments, but enjoying myself. I think I voted to myself for all these years to really now, like, just to enjoy the wine. That's what I say. And
Yeah,
smell the
so that's a
roses
great
and have
segue
everything.
actually to get on to our questions here, which our first one is about the climate
I
and the
can't hear you.
landscape. You can't hear me?
Can you hear me, Derek? I can't hear you.
I can hear you.
You can't hear me?
And I can still hear me on the monitor, so maybe it's your speakers?
I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Still hear me on the monitor.
I can still hear me on the monitor. Mine's work. It's all working. It's your earphones, I think.
I can still hear me on the monitor.
Like,
Mine's work. It's all working. It's your earphones.
I can't hear you, Derek. Can you hear me?
Everything's working except for you.
I can't hear you.
Everything's working. Turn your volume up. Your earphones up. Your earphones up.
Everything's working.
Your earphones.
Your earphones up.
I'm watching it on 2 platforms, and they're both good. It's your earphones. Your earphones. Everybody's watching me say your earphones. All right, we're going to have to go out of here if he can't figure out his sound or why. Maybe it's StreamYard. I don't know. But it's working on all the monitors. So I apologize to whoever's watching right now.
I can't hear you, Derek. I can't hear you. I don't know.
Here, hold on. How about now? How about now? You hear me?
Maybe send a message. I can't hear you.
All right. There's no message. Private chat.
What's the weather and climate like? Oh, okay. Is that the question that you want me to answer? I see that. Okay, I can see the question now. I see it here. The weather in the north, it's in the from March through October, end of October. It's pretty stable. You do have it's a great temperatures. Can go as high as 30 degrees in the summer, June, July, August. Like right now, it's about 20 degrees. The difference is that there's the highs and lows are different. Whereas in the central part of Portugal, like Lisbon or so, the weather is more stable. And then, of course, when you go down more south, further down in the Algarve, you have more of a Mediterranean climate. Excuse me, and it's more even much more stable than the highs and lows. And then of course Madeira Islands and the Azores are just extremely stable for the most part. Up here it's where it's more unsettling because of the winter months. It does rain, that's why everything is green. So yeah, I'm not sure if you heard all that, but
I'm going to share everybody else can hear me. They can hear you, and check your chat, private chat. But I'm going to share my screen and show
I see you
everybody.
sent the message.
He's going to check that message while I show you the map.
Okay.
And I'm going to pull a map up so you all know where Portugal is, because I'm guessing a lot of you don't even know where Portugal is. So if I can add my screen here, and I'm going to bring this up, and he's going to come back, and I'll bring him back in as soon as he gets back. But here's the map. So if you don't know where Portugal is, here's the US. You can see it over here, and Portugal is over here. It's actually in Europe, not in South America like I've heard some people think. And it's right here next to Spain, and they actually don't speak Spanish, or maybe some of them do, but they speak Portuguese like some people don't know also. And then more specifically, up here at the top, this is where Tony is, right up here. I mean, almost in Spain, so he must go to Spain a lot. We'll have to talk about that a little bit, but so everybody knows just where Portugal is and where Tony is. And now I'm going to come over here and we're going to bring him back in. Tony, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly, Derek.
Sweet. All right, there's the remedy next time. Instead of me yelling at you and making all these stupid things, I'm going to tell the person to leave and come back. And while you were gone, I was just pulling up the map so that everybody who doesn't know where Portugal is, because I've heard a lot of people say it's in South America and they think they speak Spanish and they think it's next to Mexico or something. So it's actually in Europe. It's part of the EU, correct, still? And is right there next to Spain. And I'll stop sharing that screen so we can talk again. But so everybody knows where it is. So what are we at? We're at the climate. Yeah. So you were saying this is a good opportunity for you to stand up. Can you stand up, show around a little bit, and then come back down for the rest of the questions?
Sure.
Sweet.
I mean, this is, you could just see like here. Well, you see the peaches here coming in. The kiwis are behind. Okay, you can see them right there growing. This is a pier. You can see here coming. Oh, that one was coming down, and it's just mountains going.
So how big are those mountains? Are they? They're not like skiing big mountains like you'd find in Vermont or Colorado or something, right?
600 meters up. No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. Here's some more peaches, tangerine trees.
And we know you're in Europe because you're saying meters.
Meters, yeah. Even through here, you could see again all the mountains, all around, all within. I'm just in the valley.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm sorry, you probably said it, but what do you have seasons?
Yeah, here in the north, it's more of a fourth season. You know when it's winter, you know when it's summer, you know when it's spring, fall, because the leaves change colors, everything. You do have the four seasons here. Oh wait, you have the sun. Let me put this here now, so then that way I'm not in the sun and you can see me. But yeah, this is pretty much just my little neck of the woods where I spent some of the time, and I love it's what I inherited. Let's just say, and so there's a place that's very special and dear to me.
So we saw you hold up, and we all know if you go to
our neighbors.
He was a little bit slow there.
Come and pick the
comes.
tree, the fruits, so they don't go to waste. And so you can see here, beautiful sunny day, but just cold. I'm a country boy, Derek. I really am.
So obviously we saw you drinking some wine, and we've all seen there's a whole Portugal section in the PA State liquor store. So we know that wine is probably one of the industries there. But what are the major employers and industries? Tourism, wine. What else? What do we got there?
Tourism. Portugal is a service, service industry. Hotels. There are a lot of factories from, even U.S. like Borg Warner. We do have a lot of factories from all over Europe. Volkswagen is one of the biggest factories here. They do a lot of components and building cars here in Portugal. But basically, it's 60% or 70% or 60% is service industry, hotel, tourism, restaurants, and along those lines, coffee shops, pastry shops.
So is it beaches? Obviously there's a long coastline there, and you're kind of close to Spain and the coastline there.
Yeah,
are there beaches and there's seasons to the beach season?
Yeah, there's from June. Well, the beach, here in the Atlantic, it's cold. The water is freezing cold. It's North Atlantic. So but sometimes you would need a wetsuit, but other times, but it is colder, of course. And we do have
people surf?
Yeah, that's what it is. We do a lot. There's a lot more kite surfing, windsurfing, a lot of water activities, water sports, and up here in the north, because the wind, there is a little more wind, and so you do see a lot of it. There's like even the Spanish from the north here, where I am in Galicia. A lot of them. There's a lot of synergy from the Portuguese are buying in Spain, and our Spanish clients are buying in Portugal. I don't know who's right. They always say, well, Portugal is nicer, Spain is nicer. You're here for both sides, so I don't know who's right. But one thing is for sure, I go to Spain like I was there yesterday. I go to Spain like maybe 2-3 times a week. Okay, we also have do business there as well. So, and it's just crossing over the border. There's no border controls, nothing. So it's just
that's cool. Well, you got to hook me up with a Spanish agent to have on to talk about Spain. Somebody from like Barcelona or somewhere like.
I can recommend someone from Barcelona. I have a friend. He's also Ramon. He's a lawyer, property lawyer, but he's a real estate agent now as well. He's been doing it for many, many years. He's also a FIAPSI member that I've known through there. And be nice to interview for your show as well, for the podcast.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So you have a lot of tourism, and that's kind of seasonal sometimes. So what's it like for people that live there? If somebody moves there, maybe they're going to be the manager of one of these hotels. What's life going to be like? And let's start with maybe the travel. Do people, what's traffic like? What are the roads like? Are they modern roads like we have, or are these tiny little back roads, or is it a mix? Are they cobblestone?
Great infrastructures, great. Portugal over the last 30 years, because of the European Union, a lot of funds and growing. All infrastructure, schools, highways, high-speed internet. I mean, I have fiber optic here in a small little village that you're connected with the world. You have it all, and so the opportunities. A lot of our clients, for when we're dealing with the real estate, a lot of them are retired, so they're moving here, to live the golden years. There's other countries, like for example, whether from India, from Russia, from other, Moldavias, that they move here for just better opportunities of life, of course. Even South America now, a lot from Brazil, Venezuela, escaping a lot of the crime. So moving here, and they're working. Some of them are, whether if they may be a medical doctor in their own country, but here they start out probably working in the hotel industry or doing until they get qualified as a medical doctor and going through the processes. So, but getting around is so easy. Even subways in the bigger cities. Where I am here in the countryside, the roads are they're wide. Maybe about 60, 70 years ago, you would need a horse and carriage, or even and stuff. But not now. Everybody has, like, a family would have, like, in one family, a home would have like maybe 3 or 4 cars. So and just the infrastructure, beautiful highways. That's something that everybody says, that the highways here are really, because they're also scenic, because you're going through the countryside and stuff. They're not like in the cities, passing through or anything. And so a lot of the highways, people always have great feedback that they're beautiful and getting around.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing they're better than the Pennsylvania highways, because our roads are old and everybody drives through Pennsylvania, and that means because we're right in the middle, everybody north to south, all the logistics, right? All the everything, up and down, but they don't pay taxes in here to fix the roads usually. So you get all this through traffic going through, and we have these terrible roads. So I'm sure they're out west. They're really nice. Every time I go out west, because everything just tends to be newer and everything's nice and clean. And here it's like New York City, where there's scaffoldings all the time. There's a scaffolding somewhere, but here it's roads. There's always one of the highways or one of the lanes, something's being worked on all the time without fail. So if you did live in, or if you did work at, say, you're a manager at one of these hotels, you're in the hospitality industry, you move over there, would you live out in the country and commute, most people, or would you be living close to the hotel or in a city or something?
Both, because living in the countryside has its benefits, and not only of quality of life, but cost of living as well. And so having being in, but a lot of the cities as well. The cities, the big major cities are Lisbon, Porto, okay, Braga, Guimarães, Coimbra, obviously Coimbra because that's the university city. There's interior cities that for universities where people go for there. So there's a lot of I guess a spin-off from that business, from the schools, from the universities, etc. But other than that, like those bigger cities, and of course, if you're living in Lisbon and you're working there every single day, you're probably, there is not a lot of countryside in Lisbon. The countryside is up from Porto and up, or Coimbra, in that area is there, or even in the Alentejo region. Which is between Lisbon and the Algarve. There's a lot of land, so you see some big farms, like for like olive plantations, and even the pork creation, and so a lot also wine, etc. And that's the other biggest industries here too, is the wine. Wine is a big industry here, and even just a lot of other smaller businesses. But we do produce, but most of what we produce, curiously enough, goes to the outside. And so, yeah,
that's good though. That means it's a basic. They're basic jobs, as they call them. They're non-basic and basic jobs, and the basic ones, the ones that bring in money from the outside into those are the ones you want. So that's fantastic.
We get a lot of professionals that come here because of to being part of like weather engineers or etc. Help out not only, but we have great ones here too. But the great ones here go to work outside a lot. They get recruited right out of university to go to the United Kingdom or Canada, US, or everywhere in the world, to work. They get recruited right out of university. So we have to get source out from other countries, and they come. And when they do, usually they're in, or teachers, even teachers, etc. So medical doctors also, because again, our best medical doctors, best, and even nursing and everything, they just get recruited to go outside, especially in the United Kingdom, for sure.
But then they come back when they retire to chill in the relaxing landscape. So in the cities, like in Lisbon, is that like a modern city like people would picture, like New York City or Harrisburg or wherever in the U.S.? Or is it that when you look up Portugal, you get the first images that come up are those like an old town along the sea on kind of the rolling hills?
Derek. Lisbon, Porto, the bigger cities, it's so cosmopolitan. Even like you have 3-star, 4-star restaurants, Michelin restaurants. You have some of the top quality hotels brands are here in Portugal, and just the quality of the cuisine, restaurants, everything. It's very cosmopolitan. Even bars, you go like a wine bar. It's not like your typical, like you know, tr- uh, how do you say dive bar, right? Your dive bar and stuff like no, like really, or piano bar. They have really up and up. There's all of that. In the countryside, of course, it's everything is a little more, but it's still like you have the same service. Maybe they're not so pretty as they are in Porto with all the decoration and everything, but they're just as great. But believe me, that's where I feel more comfortable. I don't mind
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to I don't mind going to a 2 or 3 star Michelin restaurant, but you know. It's not me. I prefer the real authentic quality. If you come on a holiday, you want those things, right? You want to be pampered and everything. But if you're gonna be doing it like day to day, it would be boring, I guess. So and I think it's okay if you come on a holiday and you experience those things. You have all you can imagine in the U.S. You have here. I mean, everything. There's no shortage of anything. Uh, any kind of cuisine, you have it, and even like even lots of, as the years have gone by, like a lot of African cuisine, Indian, and just Asian, right? Mostly Asian cuisine kind of like hit the scenes now, and they've whether it's vegetarian restaurants as well, with all the again, all Portugal has all those authentic, and the quality of the materials, the prime materials, whether it's the fish, because we do have, we're surrounded by ocean. So Portugal has a deep culture with the ocean and fishing, right? With codfish, for example. But all the meats, everything. So that's what people, the quality of life as a day to day. It would be, it wouldn't be like probably in Lisbon. You do have it, like like all those nice places to go, like in New York City, or or in LA, or even in Miami. You have that. You have that. There's no shortage of anything. Here. It's just not that picture postcard that you see from the countryside with that old house and stuff. No, no.
There
So
is that if you want to visit that. Or
oh
actually,
yeah,
that's a good question. If somebody's coming to visit for vacation rather than moving there, maybe one or two things that you gotta, if you're coming to Portugal, you gotta see these two things.
for sure. You one is, you have to go to Lisbon. You have to go to Porto for sure. What
Oh,
is
right at the
there to
money.
do?
He's telling
Sorry
us
about
the
that.
two things. We
Can you
got
hear me?
it. Lisbon is where we lost you.
Oh,
Got to
I
go to
have to come out
Lisbon.
again. I have to go in and out. Hold on.
Go out, come back. Every time he cuts out, we got to redo, have him come out and come back in. We got 15 minutes here, so hopefully he gets back in fairly quickly. We only got a couple more questions coming up, and we're talking about Lisbon right now, so I'm going to bring up this Lisbon map and show you guys where it is. Oh, here he is. He's back.
Sorry about that.
There we go. All good.
Yeah,
I was just
the
reminding them where Lisbon was on the map.
Yeah, so you would have. It's mandatory to go visit Lisbon, visit Porto, visit the Algarve, because that's where you have some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. Is there in the Algarve, and then visit, the local countryside wherever you are, from north to south. Get a feel of the real Portugal. Where you have that authentic lifestyle, not the tourist lifestyle, where everyone goes. You have the marinas and everything, all those cosmopolitan bars and restaurants. The authentic Portugal. Go to the countryside, from north to more on the interior side. Doesn't matter where you are; it's all going to be the same. When you have like some fresh baked bread from local bakeries that are there. You have the local wine, from the with no label, right? Nothing, from one of the producers here and stuff. Those are the things that are really authentic, and some of the cheeses, some of the chorizo, the authentic things, and that's what I like. I mean, that's I've grown accustomed to that, and I wouldn't change my lifestyle for it. It's so, for one, it's easy. For one, it's affordable as well, because you could do it, but then again, if I want to go and have a nice, beautiful meal, out on a date or with a friend or whatever, you go to Porto or even Braga, which is close by, or even Vigo in Spain, which here in the north is literally, I'm literally a half hour away. I'm 10 minutes away from the Spanish border. It's just separated by the river. It's the Minho River. So Vigo is also very cosmopolitan. It's a big city, also by the river, by the ocean. And any city along the bay, when you have a bay or like the river meets the ocean, those are beautiful cities. We have a city here in the north, Viana do Castelo. It's just a delight. It's not big, but it's not small either. It's just the perfect size. Even when I go there driving into the city there, and it's so small, believe me, it's like one of I remember even going like on route what's East Stroudsburg, for example. There was okay, East Stroudsburg, you take the route 80, I think it's route 80, right? Going there, and going, and it was very small, and like a small city. This was like years ago. Remember there was but those kind of like small little country village cities, right? Viana do Castelo is one of those things, but on the water. Okay, so you have the river, and you have a lot of, again, all these beautiful restaurants, everything. So again, it's so close by, within a distance of like half hour I'm there, or so. Even into Porto, 45 minutes. And if I want to get to Lisbon, it takes me about 3 hours by car. If I go to the Algarve, it takes me 5 hours. I remember when I used to live in Houston, I would go to New Orleans and go for a weekend. It takes about 5 hours in a car drive as well, right? So for me, 5 hours there is, but it's, again, beautiful roads, easy access to everything. So 5 hours, just, it's seamless. It's not complicated.
So what's a dish, like a food dish that would be quintessential Portuguese that you got to have while you're there?
Bacalhau, codfish, salted cod. You can have codfish 366 days a year, a different recipe for every single day. Whether you boil it, whether you grill it, whether you bake it, whether you put it, however, there's so many dishes. If anybody wants any recipes, I'll be more than happy to send one of my favorites. It's called bacalhau abraço, okay, where it has it's codfish and it's shredded up, okay. So then, and it also has these julienne fries, like really small, right, cut up, and then with an egg and stuff and lots of olive oil. It's so easy to prepare. I can send anybody that the recipe for it, and it's so easy. Garlic, onion, everything always has, like, every dish here has like olive oil. Olive oil is one of the quintessential ingredients of any dish here in Portugal, and lots of it. And so bacalhau is king. We call it king cod. Bacalhau, and because
So you're like the Bubba Gump of codfish.
yeah.
Boil
For
it,
sure.
bread it, steam it.
Everything. I mean, it's just, you have, and then I actually have a post, and I do a lot. I do a lot of writing, and that's what I love to do, and that's what we get a lot of our clients are also organically. So I write a lot, like even about food. Like you say, you don't see a lot of posts about selling homes. You sell more of selling the lifestyle, right? And so I have, if you go on my blog, there's things there about lifestyle, about golf, about real estate as well. Of course, we got to have real estate, about music, about the wine. There's so much stuff there to learn, and even the recipe. You know what? The recipe there, if you search there in the blog, because we post it in our blog, that's where you can find it. So anybody goes on my website, it's all the information is there. So much of it, not only about everything that happens in Portugal, but the sites, everything about information. It's there. Just search the word, and you'll find it. It's there within our blog, within the website.
Nice. And we have the website in the description above, below, wherever you're watching or listening to this. It's there, and everybody should be able to find it. And we got 9 minutes here, which is perfect amount of time to go to the our last question, which is, all right, so if somebody's actually moving there, what are they going to get for their money? And we're going to kind of compare it to Pennsylvania, where our average price is $250. So let's start at the $250 mark. What are people going to get for $250 over there? And what is, if that translates to euros? I don't know what is that or whatever.
Well,
You
yeah,
can
two
fill
hundred
me
and
in.
fifty thousand dollars is around 200 and something thousand euros. So you would not, you would get like even in the countryside, like for example, like a three-bedroom or four-bedroom house, anywhere from 250 to 300,000, 290,000, three, four-bedroom, three bath. It has about 1,500 square meters of land, which is around 15,000 square foot, of a property, and you would have a property to around 2,000 square feet. Okay, I'll speak in feet so people can know. And so 2,000 square feet, and even with the swimming pool, and you're looking at between like 250 to 300,000 around that. That's my bread and butter home. And then we have, but then again, if you move closer, this same home down near Lisbon would be a home around 600,000 euros. Okay, 600. It's like double, even more double the price. So obviously up here it's a lot cheaper, and that's why I always say that like where I'm at, it's one of Portugal's best kept secrets. It really is. It's because Lisbon is a little more expensive, but then again, all the infrastructures, and you have to compare everything. Areas of like Sintra, Sintra, you would get like a three or four bedroom home would be around the 600,000, maybe even less. Maybe it's a semi-attached home. 500,000 euros would get you, a property with the view. When I say like those kinds of, you would have a view of a countryside, etc. But like a 500,000, you would get a nice, beautiful ocean view with the countryside to go with it. So you're closer to the coastline. That same home for 250 to 300,000 in near the coastline with a nice view is at the 500,000. That same €1 million home, yeah, €1 million home would be a home that's like well over, say, 4,000 square feet, 4 to 5,000 square feet, with the views, with the quality finishings, everything, and even above 1 million. I mean, even above 1 million, like we do have homes like in excess of like 8, 10, 12 million euros, that we do have them even more. I mean, but
And what about actually today? You posted some palace or something. Was that something that's a? Is
oh
that a
no, that's
museum
not
or
for
is that something for
sale.
sale, or are there
No,
old
no, no, that's
castles
a
and
national
palaces for
monument.
sale?
That we do, we actually small palaces like manor houses. Okay, up here in where I live, we do have one for sale that we listed not too long ago, and these are old, like they have the shield, you know what I mean, with the family crest on there. So they're, and the what I posted yesterday is a national monument since 1916, I think it is, or 1906. It's a national monument, and it was built in the 1800s, early 1800s, and it was just now its own, and it produces. It's a wine farm. It has 30 hectares of land, and only up until recently they allowed now to visit inside the home. And only part of it, you could visit the gardens years ago, but now they opened up the interior wise as well, just for tourism and stuff, and to keep for the upkeep of the property, because to upkeep those properties is not is
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to pay for that because just the
you, I,
person to dust it alone with all those nooks and crannies, and I mean that. Yeah, no thanks. There's some cool mansions in Rhode Island you can tour that are like insane. That I don't know
yeah,
how. I think a
like
lot
a
of them
million
closed down
euros.
actually because they couldn't keep them up.
Yeah, like €1 million will definitely get you like a character manor house, something unique, very very unique. Something that has a lot of history. People pay for that. There's not that many of them, and when they come on the market, they do sell because people do want them. Usually bought. They're always, whether from, it can be Portuguese buyers as well, but like people from like France, from Germany, United Kingdom, love those character mansions, or I wouldn't. They're not. They're like manor homes. They're not mansions in that sense, but more of like those character charm. Really, they're like 300, 400 years old, 500 years old. Some of them.
Maintenance
It's
nightmares. If I, it sounds like a boat to me. Like you, the best days are the days you buy it and the day you get rid of
Yeah,
it. And you think it's gonna be cool, but
but a
then you're
lot of
like,
when
this thing is too much.
when they were built like 300 or 400 years ago, in some of them, they've obviously been, just redone and everything to modern standards. They usually that all of them are, and like you'll see with solar panels and heated swimming pools and tennis courts, so you have that whole That's the kind of property like €1 million will definitely just get you something unique. It has to be. And even for me here in our region here in the north, like a property in excess of 500,000, 600,000, anywhere from half a million to €1 million would already get you something unique of a property. When you go down further south, I mean, the prices are different, and you have some beautiful estates, right? That are just beautiful, and they're characters. They have the homes that are well over hundreds of years old and have been renovated and up to the highest standard. So anytime you talk about €1 million property, it's something unique, for sure.
Well, that's nice to hear because here in Pennsylvania, it's kind of the same. So it sounds like price wise, it's nothing crazy.
Similar.
And if you're spending $1 million, you could actually get something that feels like something palatial or something that's worth that. It's not like you're getting an efficiency apartment in New York City that you would get for $1 million. So
yeah, like even here, like a nice 2 bedroom flat you can get like for around 100, or even a 3 bedroom flat for around €125,000. Where that same flat there now down by the Algarve with the beautiful ocean view would be a flat of 300,000, 400,000 and above. Obviously,
still
so
not that
everything.
bad, really. I mean,
No, it's not, and it's still relatively inexpensive, especially in the center of Lisbon, in comparison to like other cities like Madrid, Paris, London. There was even like a story, like even Cristiano Ronaldo spent €7 million on one of the most expensive flats that was sold in the center of Lisbon. And so I even did a post or even a mention about it because, for example, in Madrid, that same flat, even smaller than what he has here, was bought by one of these Middle Eastern tycoons, a sheikh. He bought it. He paid well over. The difference is only €7 million, of Madrid to here, so more, right? So it's still a bargain in comparison to that same flat. If it was in Paris or any one of the bigger Milan, etc., would be the double of what it is here. So for sure, if you think of property values, it's still cheaper than any European city. And but when you showed the map, Portugal's been here all along. People may not know, but especially Americans are finding it now for some reason or other, with a lot of the news. Oh yeah, okay, we won't say anybody. Stay away.
it's the best kept
But
secret. Now you're going to drive the
it
prices
is.
up.
Well, my no, but my area is the best kept secret now. But all of Portugal, people are discovering it, and I think that's a good thing. And everywhere you go, English is spoken. It's not like a third cut. If it was about 30 years ago, even 20 years ago, speaking English probably was a luxury. Everybody speaks English now. Maybe not perfect like I do, but everybody speaks English in every corner, in the countryside, in the rural side. Everyone speaks because whether their grandson or granddaughter went to college or went to university or just watching a lot of TV. I guess I don't know. Maybe Clubhouse as well.
Yeah, well, there's no excuse these days either. You could want to go to Japan and you could pull out your phone and it'll translate for you real time. So a language barrier should never be a
No, but here
barrier to traveling.
at every corner, there's someone that will speak English. It's just so, even in the rural countryside, that's something, because there's always a foreign family somewhere living. Everyone knows one. So
So here we've got a few minutes left, 3 minutes to be exact. So in about a minute, tell us what other profession you would be if you could be anything else.
definitely what I do now, which is a tour guide. I don't consider myself a realtor in the sense where, yes, that's what we do, but for me, it's just showing the beauty. So I would definitely be either writing or even making wine, continuing on or doing something along the wines, or even just, but again, probably writing about blogging, travels, not only here in Portugal, but all over the world, because it's something I love to do. Anything I do has to be a passion, otherwise, I just don't do it. I have to be passionate about it. And one of the things that I am very passionate, and I can write about it just so easily, is Portugal and everything, whether it's pictures to go with it or location, visiting, traveling. So I would definitely along those lines.
That's perfect. And that's the beauty of what we do. You can kind of, in the real estate industry, you can kind of mold it to what you're interested in. If you like digital marketing, you can go that way. If you like cold calling people, if you like commercial, if you like property management rather than brokering deals, if you like being the tour guide or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, for me, I always say that like I love my office. It's outdoors. That's where I'm most happy. Showing properties, being with clients, sitting alongside a river cafe, talking about hearing about what they're, and you're qualifying them, of course, but you do it in an ambiance there that you're not inside an office with four walls, and it's just so much more. People are a lot more comfortable talking, and then just showing them around or having dinner here with them, etc. It's just so easier. It's more personalized. It's more something with me. Not everybody does it. I get. Not everybody does it, but I've been doing it for 20 years. Again, it's about the lifestyle, and it's about why should somebody, why should you live here, or where should you live in Portugal? That's probably the most important question I would ask anybody, because it's so different, and not only for climate. And the first thing anybody consider, whether even traveling or moving here, is on your lifestyle. What do you want to do? And what weather do you like? Because it's so different.
Yeah, so you got to reach out to Tony, obviously, and we've got about 50 seconds here for me to close it out, so I'm going to cut you off here and do it, but you got to reach out to Tony.
Derek,
I'm going to have all his information up there, his phone number, his email, his website, and I'm going to leave it scrolling, and it's in the description and everything if you want to reach out to him. Again, contact me if you need to buy or sell a home, or if you want to move to Portugal. I'll sell your home here. He can help you find one there. You can call me, text me, email me, throw a rock through my window, send a carrier pigeon, whatever you need to do. Thanks for listening and watching. Thanks for being here, Tony. Frantic outro, but that's all right. We love seeing it, and I want some peaches sent my way, some preserves or something. And see you, everybody. Say bye, Tony.
Bye, Derek. Abraço. A hug. A virtual